Chapter 22, Insignificant Events in the Life of a Cactus. Connor and I walked up to the door of the Tourette's support group. "Here we go again," he said under his breath as I opened the door. This month's group was smaller. Only Dexter, Jack, and Mason were there. "Hey, Armless Avon," Dexter said. "Is that a new tick, Dexter?" I asked, thinking of his tendency to say inappropriate things. "What do you mean?" he said, a baffled expression on his face. I grinned at the floor. "Never mind." Dexter patted the seat next to him. "Come sit over here, chicken nipple." Connor and I sat in 2 seats next to Dexter. "Where's everyone else?" I asked. "I don't know," Dexter said. "Maybe Rebecca slapped herself so hard, chicken nipple, that she's lying passed out on the kitchen floor." Jack snorted loudly. "That's not cool, Dex," he said. I shook my head. "Definitely not cool." "I'm sorry," he said, clearly doing his best to look innocent. "It could be the bathroom floor." "That's enough, Dexter." Andrea looked up from the clipboard she held on her lap. "That's almost crossing the line into making fun of someone instead of making fun with." She stared down at him, but I could hear some playfulness in her voice. "I'm sorry." Dexter hung his head and stuck out his lip. "I won't do it again." He covered his mouth to hide an obvious grin. "Well, it looks like this is all we have today," Andrea said. "Why don't we go ahead and get started? Since we all talked a little bit last month about our fear of going out in public, I thought this month would be a good time to talk about some techniques for staying relaxed when we go out. There's no reason any of you should feel you need to stay confined to your house out of fear of venturing out. It's so important you all live your lives as normally as possible, and feeling comfortable when going out in public is a big part of that." "But what if we can't relax and our tics get really bad?" Jack said, letting out this loud whooping noise. "Don't already decide that you can't relax in public, Jack," Andrea said. "That's why I'm going to teach you some techniques you can use. Are you going to tic in public? Probably yes. You have to accept that, but you don't have to allow it to get out of control." "Is this going to be about habit reversal training?" Connor asked, "because I've already tried that." "What's that?" I asked him. Before he could answer, Andrea said, "No, Connor, we're not going to be discussing habit reversal training today." Connor turned to me. "It's when you try to focus your attention on doing something that basically, competes with your tic as soon as you feel the urge. Over time, it's supposed to make you feel the urge to tic less." "Does it work?" I asked. "A little," Connor said, "but I haven't been very good about doing it." "It can work well for some kids," Andrea said, "but today we're just going to focus on relaxing." I ignored her. "Maybe you should try it again if it helped," I told Connor. "I told you I'm not going to therapy anymore," he said. "Besides, it didn't work well for me." I frowned and kicked at my chair legs as Andrea went on about how to breathe deeply. We all closed our eyes, and she told us to breathe in slowly through our noses and out slowly through our mouths. I found it difficult to relax with Dexter repeatedly saying, "Chicken nipple, chicken nipple," next to me, but I did my best. "Now," Andrea said in a soothing voice, "feel a warmth in your chest, a wonderful warmth that travels from your chest to your shoulders, down your arms, and into your fingertips." I couldn't help it. I totally burst out laughing. Then Connor and the others joined me. "You feel the warmth in your fingertips, Avon?" Dexter asked. Andrea tried to continue talking about the warmth drifting down our legs and feet, but everyone kept giggling and ticking. So eventually she gave up and talked to us about other ways we could relax in public. These included using our breathing, visualizing, meditation, and even going over our times table. At some point, Andrea said we should all have a goal we were working toward. It didn't need to be big, but something really attainable. Like my parents had always taught me, one small goal at a time. Dexter said he wanted to make it through a meeting without calling his mom to check the stove. Andrea said that was a good one. Then Dexter asked if he could call his mom to check the stove. Jack said he wanted to talk to this girl at school he liked. Not ask her out or anything, but just say hi. And Mason wanted to stop making farting noises. When Andrea asked me about my goal, Connor and I looked at each other with knowing grins, but I wasn't about to tell the whole group about our murder investigation. Instead, I said I wanted to learn how to use nunchucks, which was also true. When Andrea asked Connor about his goal, I blurted, "Connor's going to challenge the next person who makes fun of him at school to a cage match." The others giggled, But Connor squinted at me suspiciously and then turned his attention to Andrea. I guess I should try to get out somewhere, he said. I haven't been anywhere but school and Stagecoach Pass since I moved. The way he said his goal felt non-committal, and I doubted he would follow through with it. Andrea gave us the last 10 minutes to socialize, so everyone wanted me to show them what kinds of things I could do with my feet. Andrea handed me clipboard, paper, and pen, and I wrote, "People with arms are lame." I She's so funny. I also opened up a water bottle and put my hair in a ponytail. Impressive stuff. "Wow, Avon," Dexter said. "You're like a superhero, like a totally awesome armless superhero." "If only I had those nunchucks," I said. "Armless Avon," Dexter announced, "able to open water bottles with a single toe." I blushed. That darn idiopathic craniofacial arrhythmia. Not a single toe, but that's okay. I glanced at Connor, but he wasn't smiling. Actually, he looked downright annoyed. Later, on the way home in the car, I asked him, "What's the matter with you?" "Nothing." He slumped down in his seat and crossed his arms. "Dexter just thinks he's so funny." "He is funny," I said. "I can tell you think he's so funny, but I don't." He turned away from me so he could stare out the window. "He's starting to get on my nerves, calling you armless Avon." "Someone at the support group calls you armless Avon? Is it from his Tourette's?" Mom asked. "No," Connor said. "It's from his stinky personality." I looked at Mom in the rearview mirror. I could tell from her wrinkled, squinty eyes that she was grinning. I grinned back and then looked out my own window, hardly able to keep myself from giggling. I had never, ever in my entire life made a boy jealous until now. Chapter 23. Christmas at Stagecoach Pass was actually pretty cool. My parents decided it was worth it to hire a company to come in and decorate the park with lights and a big tree in the middle of Main Street. We pulled all the old Christmas decorations out of storage and placed them around the park. Things like wreaths made of horseshoes and cowboy boots filled with fake poinsettias. Dad made sure the company he hired strung lights over the covered wagon that marked the entrance. They also added the word Christmas after Stagecoach Pass, so everyone would know something's a little different. I had the idea to set up a booth that sold hot cocoa and s'mores fixings. We lit fires in a couple of the old metal garbage cans. I had never expected the Arizona nights to get so cold. The weather even dipped below freezing a couple of times. I actually got to wear my earmuffs while I stood outside with Connor roasting marshmallows over the fire. Well, he roasted marshmallows for me. I didn't exactly need my toes freezing off. "It's too bad Zion's gone for winter break," I said. Zion and his family were spending 2 weeks in New Zealand. They'd gone all the way to the other side of the world to visit the movie set from The Lord of the Rings. My dad had raised his eyebrows when I told him that, and he said, "I've got to meet these people." Zion told me it's actually summer down there right now. How weird is that? Connor didn't answer as he looked around and barked nervously. The roasting sticks he held over the fire shook a little. "This place is busier than ever," he said, and barked. The people roasting marshmallows across from us stared at him. "Don't let it scare you off," I said. Connor shrugged and looked offended. "I won't. I mean, as long as it doesn't get too busy." I raised an eyebrow at him. "What qualifies as too busy?" Connor shrugged. "Busier than this?" "Well, I hope that's not true because I would miss you." "I'm sure it will be dead again once Christmas is over," Connor said, which was obviously reassuring to him, but not to me. I didn't want the park to get dead again. Connor pulled a marshmallow off the stick and shoved it in my mouth. "Then things can just go back to normal." "Oh, there were go Nora," I said as he stuffed with my mouth stuffed of marshmallow. "Huh?" I swallowed. "I don't want it to go back to normal. I want it to stay busy. You realize if the park closes down, my parents lose their job, and we probably will have to move again." Connor frowned. "Yeah, I didn't think of that." He stuffed another marshmallow into his mouth. "Then I hope it stays busy, just as long as it doesn't get too busy." We invited Connor and his mom over for Christmas Eve. We held a dinner in the steakhouse, invited all the employees who didn't have any family to spend with. Mom and Dad ordered 3 big turkeys. "What can I do to help?" I asked Josephine, who was ordering everyone around in the kitchen. They were busy making cornbread, mashed potatoes, corn, and of course, cowboy beans, cornbread, and coleslaw, which I would most definitely not be eating. Coleslaw was ruined for me for life and would further be known as pit slaw. Josephine handed me a masher. "Why don't you mash up them potatoes?" She stuck the giant pot of potatoes on the floor for me. I worked on handling the masher with my feet. Several of the employees stopped to watch, but Josephine told them all to skedaddle. "Those will be the best mashed potatoes you ever put in your mouth," she snapped at anyone who raised an eyebrow at me mashing the potatoes. At one point, Henry walked in. He put his hands on his hips. "Avon Kavanaugh," he scolded, "what are you doing with your feet in the food?" I didn't think Josephine could have looked more shocked than if a tarantula the size of a horse had trampled through the room. "You crazy old kook," she said to Henry. "Don't you know her name by now? Get out of here and make yourself useful." She shooed him out of the room, and neither of them returned. When I was done with potatoes, I peeked my head through the swinging door of the kitchen. I watched Connor and his mom sitting at a table together with my mom, talking and laughing. I knew this was the first time they had eaten in a restaurant together since Connor's tics had started, so I was glad to see Connor looking so comfortable, although he didn't eat much during dinner. As we all sat together at the table, I whispered to Connor, "Henry just called me Avon Kavanaugh in the kitchen." He scrunched up his nose. "Like you said, he gets really confused." I picked up my fork with my toes and stabbed a big bite of turkey. I guess. He does keep confusing me for someone else, but why would he think I was a Kavanaugh? Connor shrugged. "I don't know, maybe you look like a Kavanaugh." I shoved the bite of turkey in my mouth and chewed it as I thought about this. "If only we could find that missing picture from the museum," I said. "Maybe that would tell us something." "We'll just have to keep searching the storage shed. There's got to be something in all that junk." I nodded as I stabbed another chunk of turkey. I hope so. That evening, Mom and Dad gave me my Christmas present, a pair of turquoise silver earrings they had purchased from a Navajo woman. I thought if I ever got that necklace cleaned up and maybe got a new chain for it, it would look nice with my new earrings. I also thought this Navajo woman should come and sell her jewelry at Stagecoach Pass. Actually, I couldn't stop thinking of things we should do at the park. I had a lot of great ideas. Later that night, I dragged Dad out to go tarantula hunting, as I'd done several times before. I had become obsessed with finding a live tarantula. He held the flashlight for me as I could sneak up on any holes I found earlier in the day, thinking they might be tarantula burrows. But I never did find one, no matter how much I searched. I began to wonder if I ever would.